What is a core reason that resolutions, whether at New Year's or any time of the year, often fail?
Moving forward with the Decker team. Moving forward together with the Decker team.
We've created for you over 403 Inside Track episodes on real estate, insider tips, making house home, building wealth, and simply whole living that you can access from home, the office, or on the go, whenever it works for you.
Well, I believe one of the main reasons that resolutions fail is how we measure them. So there's a thing called a lag measure and a lead measure. And also, we maybe make our goals too big. We don't chunk them down into little bite-sized things that we can celebrate.
Right. So a lag measure, a lag measure is simply the result.
It's the final result.
It's the final result.
So if the final result is that I want to have $20,000 more in equity at the end of the year,
right,
that's a lag measure. Now, what do I need? What activities do I need to do that I can measure the activities to get me to that goal?
Right. So the lead measure, just because we're bringing in language that we've learned over the years and that we've implemented, and yet when we first learned them, I went, "What?
Yeah,
Can't you just say activities versus results?" So the lead measure tends to be the activities I need to do to get to the result, which is the lag measure that I want at the end.
Right. So if I desire, let's say, to bring my blood pressure down.
Right.
Okay. And I know that I'm slightly elevated, and now I'm working at bringing that down. So I look at what things will bring blood pressure down.
Right.
So if my goal is to bring it down 20 points by the end of the year, then I go, okay, so weight has an effect. Salt has an effect. The type of food I eat has an effect. My stress level has an effect. Exercise and cardio fitness has an effect. So I can set up a whole bunch of lead measures, and a lead measure means, let's say I want to exercise 3 times a week, or do cardio 3 times a week and exercise another 2 times. So I exercise a total of 5 times. I can measure that. It's the leading indicator that I'm going to reach my goal of reducing my blood pressure.
Right. And if we look at that $20,000, because I kind of like staying with an example that we started with as well to unpack that, because we've just had Christmas. If you're watching this show as it's being aired and recorded, or if any time of year. However, when we've just had probably a big expenditure, it's possible, just possible, that the finances aren't quite where you had hoped they would be. Some extra special sales, Black Friday maybe got you, and you invested or didn't invest, in fact, just spent where you didn't have an intention to. And so that $20,000, you've decided for the next year, you want to eliminate $20,000 worth of debt. And how do I do it? That would be the lag measure. Did I or didn't I reduce my debt by $20,000? The lead measure.
And the issue with that, let me interrupt you for 1 second.
Sure.
The issue with a big chunk like that, $20,000, is that the day-to-day changes, the micro changes are too small to see an effect on the $20,000 over the year. So we get discouraged.
Yep.
And we just throw in the towel.
We do. We throw in the towel.
Decide I'll go do some mall therapy, right? And go shopping.
For those that like shopping.
For those that like shopping. And maybe I do it online.
Right.
Because I like shopping online better than I like shopping in the mall.
Right.
So if I take that $20,000 and now I decide, okay, how much of it, some of it maybe I'm going to invest money, some of it maybe I'm going to pay off debt, maybe I'm going to pay off high interest debt, maybe I'm going to pay off my smallest debt first so I can start snowballing. But if I start to create a plan, because without a plan, resolution fails.
Right.
Because now the plan sets up the small lead measures the tasks that I can do on a weekly basis.
Right. So
And
if
I
I
can measure
failed,
that.
right. So if I fail to plan, I plan to fail.
Exactly.
Absolutely true.
It's a great quote.
It is a great one. So if I decide I'm going to, a lead measure, like a real vivid, real example would be I'm no longer going to purchase a coffee or a donut or even an apple when it's not at the grocery store. I'm not going to go to the convenience store to buy those things that I want to consume. Or I may say I'm going to limit myself to once a week or once a month. I'm going to make a little tiny shift in my behavior. Doesn't mean I can't have a coffee, but maybe I say I'm going to make the coffee at home. Or me, I'm a matcha tea queen. I love the stuff. And to buy one at Starbucks, the way I like it, would be outrageously expensive. And so I decide I'm going to make it at home. It costs a fraction of the amount of money, and I can make it even better and have more matcha tea in it. So often you even get better if you do it yourself
Right.
versus going out to do it. So that could be a small lead measure. How many times I'm going to purchase something extravagant at a convenience store.
Right. And it might even be deciding, you know what, I'm going to freeze my credit card in a container of ice in the
Right.
freezer so I don't have access to it.
That would be a lead measure.
And I'm going to stop using credit. I'm going to start spending cash, and I'm going to pay a certain amount off on my credit card every month.
Right.
Now I've got some measurables. And if I pay off that amount in the month, maybe I celebrate. Maybe I have my ice cream, or I have my once a month Starbucks, or whatever is my little celebration.
Exactly. And you pre-plan the celebrations.
Yes.
That's not part of the lead measure, but it's part of acknowledging the win of the lead measure.
Mm-hmm.
And if I do now and then another amazing lead measure would be tracking. Just awareness of every penny spent.
Yeah.
And so once I've done that for even a week, I won't probably see any difference. Where will I start to see a difference? On, as an example, not eating, like not buying an expensive little drink at the convenience store.
Well, it might take a month or two,
Yeah.
and you'll start to see a difference. And the other thing is tracking. If you track your bank account and your debts every month, then at the end of the month, you'll see whether you've made progress. If you haven't made progress, in other words, you've created more debt, even though you made those changes, you're still creating more debt, well, then we need a little more drastic changes in your lifestyle so that on a monthly basis, you're going the right direction. Debt is reducing, investments or equities increasing.
Right.
And so over time, that snowball will grow in a way that is phenomenal. And if it's not looked after, it can grow in a way that is horrific.
Exactly. So what we want to be doing is thinking about what are those lead measures? What are those 5? Probably no more than 5. Like ideally even choose 1 to 3 initial lead measures just to help you have something to watch. Know what your big goal is and then break it down with, we'll say 3 lead measures that you can track. So within even a week, you start to see how you're doing. So let's get the lead measures, even like send us an email, tell us what you chose, and we'll tell you ours. We are so grateful that we get to be your partners in growing wealth through real estate.
Moving forward with the